Thank you very much. Well, good morning, everybody. I just want to say hello. Those of you who don't know my face, I'm your regional for Mercer Culinary. Greatly appreciate you having me on today. We are going to discuss Mercer Culinary and Barfly. So I am going to turn off my camera and share my screen, and I will take it away here so that there are no distractions on that end. So with Mercer Culinary and Barfly, you essentially get two factories in one. So if you're not familiar, Mercer Culinary is primarily a back-of-the-house oriented line, best known for knives, turners, spatulas, etc. We have a wide variety of other products too that I'm going to walk through with you today. And then we also have our Barfly mixology gear as well. And so both of those factories essentially are two in one. It's the same company. We just brand them separately because Barfly is primarily barware, mixology gear, items that are front of the house facing for discerning bartenders. And so while they are marketed to different users, it is all the same company. So for your use, for your needs, orders combined towards prepaid freight and minimum orders together. There are no broken case fees with either of these lines, so you can mix and match. And we'll talk a little bit about some of the flexibility that we offer so that you can really be a great solution for your small wares for both your front of the house and back of the house clients. So I did want to kick off and make everybody aware of our websites. If you haven't spent any time on them, they're very useful. One of the things that I like about them in particular is that our catalogs are available as a URL. So rather than trying to send your customers a large PDF file, you can just refer them to our website and send them links to our catalog. So makes it very flexible, especially for the outside salespeople. If you're on a rush, on the go, you don't necessarily need to open a large file to look things up. So barflybymercer.com is the barware. Catalog links are up here in the corners. We have our main catalog, which is 2023, and then the new products brochure that we launched this year. So I encourage everybody to check them out. If you like hard copies, we of course have those as well. I think we do a great job with our hard copy catalogs. So feel free to reach out to myself or your internal folks to be able to do that. So just be aware of that. It's a great resource. The websites are searchable. I'm sorry. Saying then the websites are searchable. Everything is available as needed as well. So just wanted to make everybody aware of that. Both of the product lines do have links to catalogs just to make things flexible, especially for outside salespeople on the go. All right, so to kick it over to product, if you're not familiar, as I said, Mercer Culinary is primarily back of the house. We're best known for our knives, turners, spatulas. That's where the core of the business is. That's where a lot of our Compass business is directed, and so that's what we're best known for. So knives are a great place to start as we do an overview of the brand. We have a ton of flexibility with our offerings. So we have something essentially at the very, very high end, all the way down to basic entry-level products that would be good for chains or large institutions that are very cost conscious. And so having a wide variety of product offerings, I just kind of want to briefly overview what is available, just to give you an overview of that. And again, all this information can be found in the front of our catalogs. We have a couple of great information as far as guides on different terms, nomenclature for the products that kind of discern and separate the different calibers of knives that chefs are looking for. So everything's lined up here. In the top left corner, the MX3. This is our top of the line product. This is a VG10 Super Steel. So these knives are extremely hard. They take and hold a very nice edge, and they are on the expensive side as far as food service grade cutlery goes. So these are knives that net to you for right around $100 a piece. So certainly not for every user out there, but they are very nice knives, and they are competitive against some of the higher end Japanese cutlery that is found in food service. So we would compare these against like a Mac, a Mizuno, a Glistane, the high end Japanese knives that can easily cost $300, $400, $500 a piece. We have an option for that with the same quality of steel, but at a much more reduced price point. And you will find that with our product offering, the way that we really set ourselves apart from our competitors is we always have a mid-tier price point with what we think is a better or best quality. So we really try to punch above our weight with the product offering, but have a realistic price point because we know within the world of food service, budgets are constrained, costs are tight. People don't necessarily have a lot of money for house products to spend big dollars on that. So we've done very well with offering a really nice wide variety of products at a very competitive price point. So as I said, MX3 top of the line. Moving down from there, we offer three lines of what's known as forged cutlery. So if you're not familiar, forged knives are kind of the chef's standard. Most executive chefs and people who are serious about their craft will utilize some kind of forged blade. And when we talk about forged knives, essentially we're looking at something that has one piece of steel. So from the tip of the knife all the way to the butt end of the handle is made from one piece of steel. So we have three options for that: the Renaissance on the left side, the Zoom on the top right, and then the Genesis on the right side as well. Those are our three forged knives. Those are all made out of high carbon German stainless steel. They all have a really nice weight and heft to them. And then the main thing that chefs are looking for is a full tang. And so all of those knives have a full piece of steel that reaches into the bottom of the handle. And so really, again, what we set ourselves apart is price and quality. For German steel knives, we can offer something that nets to the IFG family from anywhere from $30 to $40 for an 8-inch chef's knife. So the Renaissance and the Zoom are priced similar. An 8-inch chef's knife ranges right around $36 a piece for those types of knives. And then the Genesis is the same steel, but it is a lower cost. So your net on that one is right around $30, $31 for an 8-inch chef's knife. So very well priced, extremely sharp, designed to last a long time, but not expensive. So it's a great upgrade piece if you have an operator or chef who's looking to do something a little bit nicer for themselves or wants to upgrade their house knives. So those are good to know about, but we recognize that most of the volume in commercial food service is with stamped cutlery, and so we have a good variety of them as well. So on the bottom left side, the Millennia knives, this is really our bread and butter line. This is where most of the volume is for food service with us. And so these knives will feature a Japanese stainless steel, and then it's what's known as a stamped product. And so when we talk about stamped knives, these knives tend to be from one large sheet of steel, and then they are stamped or cut out from that sheet of steel. So you get economies of scale in production. You get a nice knife, it's a good quality, but it does tend to be thinner and lighter than the forged blades, a little bit lower cost, and generally speaking, we do not have a full tang with our knives. So these are more designed and developed to be cost-conscious products. The Millennia in particular is very well priced. So it's an 8-inch chef's knife, nets to you for just under $15 a piece. And we have the widest range of products in the Millennia line. So from here, we go everything from 12-inch chef's knives all the way down to 2.5-inch paring knives with a huge variety of blades in between. Slicers, huge different variety of bread knives, paring knives, etc. Again, you can flip through the catalog. I can tell you about all the different ones, but the most variety is found within the Millennia family of knives. And then just to the right of that is Praxis. It's a wood handle blade. We don't see much demand for it these days, but we do have something if someone's interested in that. And then on the bottom right is the Ultimate White. That's our economy line. It's a white polypropylene handle, very basic cutlery. But for those of you that do work with large institutions or chains that are solely driven by price, it's a fine knife, but it nets to you for right around $9. So it's inexpensive, great for, again, people who are solely focused on cost of the blade. And we all have those customers that just want to check the box that says knife on their buy guide. So that's the basic introduction of the variety of brands that we have. I have a little bit more information on each of them, so just kind of dive into some of these slides here and show you them a little bit closer, give you some items. As I said, the Renaissance is the 3-riveted handle, very classic look, what a lot of chefs think of when they think of chef's knife. The Zoom is a modern straight style pommel handle, so it's a little bit more modern. Chefs like them, especially if they're interested in the Japanese style knives. I have a lot of chefs who, they see like $175 Shun knife, and they can't necessarily afford it. So the Zoom looks and feels like that blade, but at a much more reasonable price point. And then the Genesis is our bread and butter in forged knives. Most of our volume is done there. The handle's really comfortable. It's made out of a material called Santoprene, so it's this like tacky rubber grip. It's very comfortable for use for long periods of time. Good variety of blades there, and it's one of the best priced true German steel forged blades on the market. So this is an easy one to sell if someone's looking to upgrade their cutlery. And then, as I mentioned, the Millennia is our bread and butter. Stamp blade, Japanese steel, nice wide variety of blades in that front. And then a couple other notes on that as well. And I didn't mention it before, but it is worth noting. The handle on the Millennia basically has a couple of different materials. So it has a Santoprene material that I just mentioned. This is like a nice tacky rubber grip. If you've never held one of our blades, I'm more than happy to send you a sample to check it out. What I like about it is that it combines a lot of features of other cutlery brands into one knife. So there's brands out there that have, a tacky rubber grip, or they have a colored handle. to them, but really nobody that I'm aware of that really combines a few of those together. And so what's nice about it is if you have somebody that likes the texture of that grip, feels really good in their hands, and they have a HACCP function, we offer our Millennia knives in a wide variety of HACCP approved colors. So if you have a place that needs, red boning knives for fillet or for cutting down chicken breast, blue blades for fish, yellow for kosher, or any of the other items in between, we have a nice wide variety of them. So we have lots of options within the Millennia line, and that's where most of our volume is. It's also worth mentioning for those of you with Compass accounts that the Millennia knives are featured on the managed order guide. And so these are all Compass approved blades as well. So just things to be aware of on that front. And then the one that I didn't mention, it's kind of our newest line, and we're excited to continue to grow this. And this is our BPX. So BPX came out of a need for higher quality butchery blades. One of the areas that we'd always been a bit deficient in was in our line of butcher products. So we launched back in 2020 the BPX line to be the butcher knives for Mercer Culinary. And so these blades are a little higher quality than your average stamp knife. It is a German stainless steel. These are ice hardened blades, and they feature a glass reinforced nylon handle. And so when we first launched them, it was primarily designed to go after the butcher market. What we noticed through COVID is that one of our main competitors, Victorinox, was having some issues with supply. And so we realized that it would be a good flex for us to be able to pivot this line a bit and introduce more shapes and styles so that we can compete as a one-for-one against the Victorinox Fibrox knives. And so those are very good knives. They're some of the most popular knives in the marketplace. And you have some options now where if somebody either you had a bad experience with Victorinox, so they want to look at something different, they want to look at something a little bit cheaper with no loss in performance, I highly encourage you to look at the BPX line because we have a lot more variety than when we launched it. So we now feature 3 different lengths of chef's knives. We have bread knives in this family of knives, paring knives, etc. So it's expanded beyond just a standard butcher line to include a nice wide variety of them. So the handles are awesome, super durable. They can work for both, full-time meat cutters or anybody who likes that glass reinforced nylon, this really sure grip with the blades as well. So quite a bit to offer here on the BPX line of products. And so that is you bringing that up. So we got our start of the company really big in culinary education. And so we supply knives to the art institutes, the Cordon Bleus when they're around, a lot of the public and community colleges out there. And so we really are very nimble in our factory, in our warehouse, to be able to develop custom kits. So what you can do is if you are, as you're going to the rounds, if you encounter like a technical high school that has, needs of a bundle of cutlery, we are able to essentially develop a kit, as Scott said. We can then determine the specs of that kit. So they want a chef's knife, a bread knife, boning knife, a peeler, a thermometer, and a case. We can develop all that for you, create a single SKU, single item number, and then you're able to order that simply, and the items arrive assembled to your customers. So it's a great value add because everything else they're already buying from you in their pots and pans, hotel pans, etc. You can also then put together a nice package for a higher ticket item than just a single knife and be able to do it that way. So as you're out and about, you're calling on technical high schools, CTE programs, etc. It's a great offer to them to say, hey, I can also bundle a knife kit for your students. And so I see a lot of teachers like that because they can control their inventory better as opposed to having loose knives on a station. They can say, okay, station A, B, and C, you guys get the knife kits out. You have to check them out from me. All the items need to be in the kit when you check it out, and then they all need to be in the kit when you check it in. It makes it a little bit easier for them to store and inventory the product because then they can be in individual cases, in a locking cabinet in their kitchens. And so it allows the students to be able to take ownership of the product. They could inventory and store it better. It's safer. There isn't loose product floating around, a classroom setting like that. And so there's a lot of upsides to that. So if you do encounter one of those types of places, feel free to reach out to us. I can walk you through some of the specifics. It's fairly straightforward. We usually just try to forecast how many they think they need a year. And then we assign a custom item number to it, and you can order away rather than spending, time punching individual SKUs into auto quotes and, spending a lot of time that way. We front load it, we get the item number created, and then you're off to the races to be able to sell that. So feel free to reach out to us if you ever have that opportunity, because I'm happy to help put that together for you. So thanks for bringing that up. And so moving on from there,
Right.
we do have some new
Oh,
blades.
we have one more question. One more
Yes, please. I'm
question.
sorry. Go ahead.
So yeah, it's okay. With such a wide variety of knives, what questions would be best to ask a customer when determining what range is best for them? So, what style of like your different styles of knives? What
Sure.
questions
So
would you recommend?
usually the question is budget. How much do you expect to pay for this? You can always buy, there's always cheaper products out there, right? You can always race to the bottom and buy the cheapest stuff. So one of the things that I like to bring up with folks is, if they've bought a bunch of inexpensive cutlery in the past, really look at their food costs because inexpensive knives are difficult to stay sharp, difficult to maintain. So if they have high food cost waste, it could be good looking at having a nicer blade. Sharper blades are cleaner cuts, less loss, less waste, and can help with their overall food costs. So, kind of starts with budget. What does their menu look like? How much are they willing to spend on these types of products? And that's kind of how we start the conversation for sure. Another area to look at is to talk to anybody who's using a rental service. If you haven't encountered these before, there's a lot of folks out there that will make an offer to an operator to basically lease their cutlery to them. They'll promise to maintain it and then swap it out for sharp knives, which, for a chef who's got a lot going on, it's a very alluring idea. However, we found in practice that there's a lot of hidden fees and costs associated with renting knives, and really you can step in and show them savings solutions. So I'll send Natasha a packet of information on using renting knives versus owning them. But the general idea is we have a template that you can use to plug in the costs associated with renting versus actually owning and buying their knives outright. We can give them some resources to train on different types of sharpeners that we offer. And generally speaking, you can save your customers money over the sharpening service and it's new revenue for you. So, especially depending on how your fiscal year calendars work, if those are you starting to look at new revenue for the calendar year, whenever that may occur, always talking to your folks who rent knives. It's a great area to explore new revenue as well because it's a lot of new business for you. And it's another touch point where you've built trust with your operators. Say, hey, look, we came up with this for you. They trust you just like they do all your equipment needs and the other major things that they're trusting the IFG staff with already. So I'll send Natasha separately some information on owning versus renting, but it's a great win for sales reps who are looking to increase their revenue, which I know is the goal of all of us, but then also develop some trust with some of your operators. So I have some follow up on that as well. But again, expect that after this call. We can talk a little bit more about it. I've got about 10 more minutes, so I'm going to zip through some products. I can't see your questions, so if there's a question about something, just stop me,
I'll
just
let you
because
know.
I'll
Yep,
have the screen
I'll let
full
you
on
know.
mine. Yep. So
Okay.
we do have some watermelon knives. So especially in Florida, if you have fruit processors, you need some larger blades. We do have that. And we have a really nice wide variety of miscellaneous blades, including some sushi blades and other types of Asian style knives. But of course, it's not just cutlery. We go far wide ranging other products. So as I mentioned, we can do sharpening tools for you. So we have everything from premium stones that are designed to take and hold a really nice edge on the blades, all the way down to electric sharpeners and manual pull throughs. So there's quite a bit that we offer on the sharpening front so that you can present a comprehensive basket of not just the knives themselves, but then sharpening and maintenance tools so the blades can stay sharp in the kitchen. And again, we have lots of information on that we can help you with there. We also are best known for some very high quality turners and servers. We basically are a stainless steel fabricator. And so we know stainless. We know how to make it do a lot of different things for us. And so our Hell's Handle line is one of our top selling line of turners and spatulas. So the handles themselves of these items are heat safe to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. And then the blades are made out of 18/8 stainless steel. So if you haven't used one of these items before, they're some of the best turners on the market. I sell them both on durability and safety, and they really will go the distance and last for a really long time. So our 8x3s, our fish spatulas, really nice wide variety of them. Less money than most of our competitors for a true high heat handle. So great products to look at as well. And then we continue onward. So we do a nice variety of kitchen tools. We have zesters and graters, peelers, hand tools, just a really nice comprehensive selection of various items for garnishing and other food prep products. We do some plating tools as well. So if you have higher end places that are using the spoons and the tweezers and the tongs, we have a good variety of them. So you don't need to necessarily seek out getting these items from like JB Prince. Rather, Mercer Culinary has a good variety of products that you can use for the tweezer head in your life. And then we also do lots of different storage options. we have cases, we have rolls, we have backpacks. We also have for in use, we have magnetic bars. We have wood storage, basically like wood, looks like wood cutting boards with a magnetic bar in it. More show kitchen type items, but we do have a good variety of storage items as well. And to wrap up the culinary side, we do apparel. So the big takeaway that I want you to have with our apparel, we have a nice wide variety. We do 3 different lines. We essentially have our Renaissance line, which is a high-end executive chef style jacket. We have a variety of mesh backed items. So especially those of you in hotter climates, we have some really nice mesh backed items. And then the biggest thing to be aware of is we do offer custom embroidery in our warehouse. So it's done ourselves, no third parties on this one. So if you have somebody that's looking to redo their apparel and they want to include custom embroidery on that, you can offer it to them through the factory. There's information on it. If you punch in any of our jackets into auto quotes, some information will pop up on it. But I encourage you to reach out to myself and the reps. We're happy to give you what you need. As all things custom, there's some questions that should be asked up front. If we can get those answered, it's a very straightforward process. But it's one of those things where if it's hard to get them to engage as far as getting their custom logo to you or how they want the font and this and that, it can be kind of a little bit cumbersome. So I encourage you, if you have the ability to do some custom apparel, reach out to myself or the reps. We'll get you the questions that you need to get answered right away so that you can make the process smooth and easy for your customers. So just know that Mercer Culinary has a wide range of apparel items, and we also offer custom embroidery in the warehouse. So it's a nice value add service that we have. And then finally, we do safety and sanitation. We have a nice wide variety of cut resistant gloves. We have cutting board mats, just a good variety of things that you need. This day and age in particular, safety gloves, cut resistant gloves are super valuable. Staff downtime is not really a thing anymore for these restaurants that are so short staffed. So if you have somebody, especially if it's a lower skilled workforce, hourly workers, etc., I'm always recommending that they get these cut resistant gloves for their staff, because the last thing a chef needs is somebody to hurt themselves on a sharp knife, and then they lose that person for a couple of weeks due to injury. They just can't afford it, and they're too short staffed to do it. So always ask your chef, hey, is a few $1,000s worth of employee downtime medical leave, is that more expensive than a $5 or $10 glove to you? And ask the question, let them decide for themselves. But we have lots of options that are very well priced, ANSI rated cut resistant gloves. So for your operators that are needing them, we've got good options for you. And so, yeah, that's culinary. Again, tons of options. Check out the catalogs. I'll send you hard copies, whatever you need from us. We're happy to support. And then with my last couple of minutes here, I just kind of want to walk you through the Barfly side of things. So Barfly, if you're not familiar, is a full range of 18/8 stainless steel barware. It's a very high quality product. Our main competitor in this space is a company called Cocktail Kingdom. If you're not familiar, Cocktail Kingdom is an online direct sale model. So your customers have to go online, they have to shop these items themselves, pay with a credit card, pay freight, yada, yada, as opposed to getting all this stuff on an IFG truck like they're buying everything else from you. So it's been priced and designed so that you can make money against Cocktail Kingdom and still save your customers money. This line has grown fabulously for us. We have the widest variety of products in the marketplace for these items. And so we have a huge variety of new items that we're always coming out with. I bring your attention to the item on the far right. That is the new lattice etched shaker set that we have. So this lattice style is laser cut into the steel. It's got a great texture to it. It's just got this diamond pattern on it. So it looks really cool. It's got good texture in your hands, and it's now available in 5 different colors. So we do stainless, gold, copper, this antique gold or antique copper, and black, and then a few others. So really cool variety of items. Bartenders are loving it. We do a lot of marketing with our end user community. So if you haven't checked out our Instagram page, Barfly by Mercer, we're always trying to engage with that, help drive spec, change people over to it, and bring them in so that you can spec the product and make money on it. And we're really trying to help you be a partner in that. So the lattice etch is super cool and new. We love that one. And then we do more with mixing glasses. So we're not ever going to be a glass company. There's plenty of those out there. But these mixing glasses, bartenders love them for doing stirred cocktails. So especially as the weather starts getting colder here in a few weeks, few months, the dark spirits will come back in, the Manhattans, etc. So we have some nice new ones. So this one's on the left is a wide base glass. And then there's a footed glass on the bottom. So just interesting styles. These bartenders, they want to have different options and styles, and you've got options there. big thing for us is there's no broken case fees on these types of items. I know with a lot of the other glass companies, you got to buy 12 or 24 of various types of items, and these items really only lend themselves to needing 3 or 4, depending, how big the bar is. So you have flexibility in your purchasing for these types of products from us. We've also introduced a fine mesh spring strainer. So if you're not familiar, a lot of cocktails, especially those that involve citrus, a bartender will usually double strain them. So they'll pour them out of a cocktail shaker through a conical type strainer, fine mesh strainer. This essentially integrates those two into one, so it can save a step and a tool. So if your bartender is into that, it's a nice time saver for them. And it's a new different type of strainer that's out there. We also have a new finish. This is the vintage black. I kind of call it like the Buccaneers cannonball style. So for any of you guys places that like that kind of, Margaritaville, Warren Cannonball, that kind of look to it. It's pretty neat. It's got a nice texture in your hand. It looks cool behind a bar. So the vintage black is available in the full line of Barfly items. And then we have a nice variety of bitters bottles for service. So the more of these that we bring out, the more we sell. Wide variety of volumes and colors and shapes. It's all nice cut glass. It's got a great weight to it. So it feels good in your hands, and it's just a good variety of options as well. And then last but not least, I don't want to cut in channels time here, but I did want to bring this to your attention. So this is going to be our promotion for the period here that you set out for us. So we have greatly improved the packaging of our various sets. So there are 2 sets that we offer here. We have this 5-piece set on the left, which essentially is a shaker set, a jigger, bar spoon, strainer, and a mixing glass. And then the one on the right is all those items without the mixing glass. So during the period, we are offering an extra 5 on both of these sets and any of the colors. So your standard discount is 52 10s and a 5. And so there will be an additional 5 on these for this period of time. So we really like these because if you have a bar that likes a specific color and they want to convert to Barfly, these are a really easy way to be able to basically set up each of their wells with a single SKU. Again, I'm trying to cut down the amount of time that you spend in auto quotes. So rather than trying to punch in individual bar spoons and jiggers and strainers, etc., it takes a lot of time. You can use these SKUs here, and they are able to give you everything you want in a single box. So they look really nice. We're running a promotion on these with you all right now. And then the person that I set up with Natasha, the DSR amongst your team who sells the most of these in the given period, I have a deluxe bartender set that I'm going to send you as a prize, as a thank you for putting the work in on selling these items. So be aware of that. There will be, I think, something coming out, written just so you can kind of see that. But we just want to check all that out. So thank everybody for your time. I appreciate it. I'll put my contact information in the chat. And I appreciate everybody's time today. So thanks for having me. I appreciate,
like I said, all you taking the time to join us today and give us the opportunity with Channel to present our products. But more importantly, how we can help you all in your day-to-day and to be more efficient, more profitable, and actually get your customers what they need versus what they think they might want. I do highly encourage you all to take notes. Please feel free to chime in at any time, ask questions. The more engagement's always the better. Makes a better presentation, better experience for you all as well. So I know some of you might be a little bit more familiar with Channel than others. So I'm going to try to do my best to go through and present this to kind of cover all knowledge levels here. I know there's some veterans, potentially some newbies, and everywhere in between. So with that, keep in mind, Channel offers a very broad selection of products in the food service, storage, material handling category. Today, we're going to focus on just a few of those, and we'll dive into Channel's core category, which is our bun pan racks, the good, better, best approach. Second, we're going to take a look at our adjustable tubular aluminum shelving, which, as you'll find, is a great value-added alternative and solution to the industry's cheap wire shelving. And then lastly, we're going to look at some of our new items. But before we get into any of this, I want you to keep this in mind during this entire presentation. Most of the questions that you will get asked on a day-to-day, or worse, most of the questions that you will never get asked on a day-to-day, regardless if it's from a mom and pop, a chain, purchasing agent, a chef, consultant, whomever, it doesn't matter. These questions always tend to come back to 3 key things. And those 3 things are application, application, and application. This is the main takeaway I want you all to have from this presentation. Sell based on application. Doesn't matter if I'm asked how much weight a rack will hold, or really even how much it costs. My answer to most any question is always the same. What's your application? I want to know what they need it for, how they're going to use it, where they're going to use it, etc. Why? Well, as salespeople, we need to be in control of a conversation, any conversation that we're having regarding our sales approach. If the customer is always asking the questions, they're in control. So, and honestly, the majority of the time, they don't really know what questions to ask or necessarily why they're asking the questions, or what they really, as I said a little while ago, what they really need versus what they think they might want. And as salespeople or as the product experts, that's really what our role is in this game here, if we want to think of it that way. So by asking that simple question, what's your application? You flip the script and now you put yourself in control of that conversation. Let me give you an example. So Channel has roughly 1,500 products in our catalog, right? Not to mention our ability to do customization, which makes it almost infinite. So say your customer asks about a pan rack. We have hundreds of categories, sizes, capacities, you name it. By asking that simple question, what's your application? They may answer, I have a pizza place. You instantly take the options from several hundred or thousands to about a dozen by simply asking what's your application. You move the conversation from basically the top of the funnel to the bottom of the funnel really, really fast. Knowing they have a pizza place, now light bulbs should start going off for you guys. You should be able to be more detailed, more targeted with your questions, in control of that conversation. In this scenario, what's your application? I have a pizza place. Well, now the light bulb should be, well, how big is your menu? Do you serve round pizzas or square pizzas? Thin crust or deep dish? What size is your largest pizza? How many turns per night? Do you have a takeout, dine-in, or both? So, now you can really funnel it, and each of these questions funnels you tighter and tighter to the appropriate product that they need versus what they think they might want, because again, they probably don't know. So rather than an open-ended catalog with hundreds of options, wasting your time and theirs, boom, you get right down to what they actually need. So keep that in mind throughout this presentation, and as you'll hear me say quite often throughout the entire piece. So again, that's the major takeaway. So let's look at the bun pan racks. We'll take a quick dive into this. And as mentioned, Channel manufactures and offers numerous different styles, shapes, capacities, categories, you name it. If you really kind of peel that onion and look at it deeper, we have, we kind of layer those down. Things like standard bun pan racks, pizza racks, polybox racks, donut screens, enclosed cabinets, semi-enclosed wire racks, pans that hold, or racks that hold the pan from the bottom, racks that support the pan from the lip, end load, side load, not to mention our ability to do customization. And as mentioned, it almost creates an infinite opportunity for y'all. But for time purposes, we're going to just take a more holistic look at this category. The category, as mentioned, can be looked at in this three-tiered approach: good, better, or best. And we're going to kind of look at each one individually and just kind of bullet point it, cliff note it for y'all, and try to make it as simple as possible. So in the good category, this is what we refer to as the economy series. This is the all welded or the knockdown category. And this, unfortunately, is what most people think they want. And also what's even more unfortunate is what most the dealers really want to sell, because it's an easy sale. Unfortunately, it's not what they need for most of their application. But we're going to kind of cover it from like I said, a bullet point application. Regardless if it's all welded or the knockdown, it's 1-inch extruded aluminum tubing. So the tubing on these end panels is a 1-inch extrusion, and we utilize this bent frame approach on our all welded. It gives a much more rigid, solid, sturdy build to the rack itself. Yeah, the economy series does have stem, a hard plastic stem caster, which just gets inserted in the bottom of the upright and then gets bolted in place. Being bolted, they are removable in case they do need to be replaced or exchanged. They do come in both end load or side load. And if you're not familiar with those terms, that just means the orientation, which way you slide the pan into the rack. And they're individual racks. It's not a universal type scenario. So you either have to have an end load rack or a side load rack based on the way that the angles are set up. And if you look at a full 18 by 26 pan, if you cut that pan in half, you're going to get two 13 by 18 pans, two half-size pans. On an end load rack, you can get two of those per level. Or on a side load, you're just going to get one full-size pan per level. That's what I just mentioned there, 18 by 26 or the 13 by 18s. This is a price point rack. People buy this rack because of that reason. It's a price point rack. I usually joke and say there's two reasons people buy this. One, this category. One, it's cheap. The second reason, it's cheap. So again, that's the main reason. It's designed for light duty applications. You know, mom and pops, you know, those scenarios. I use this category strictly for an opportunity to upsell and get them into the category and the rack that they actually need for their application. To kind of give you just a heads up, so 401A is our model number that designates a 3-inch spacing 20 pan rack. That's the 401. 401A KD is the aluminum knockdown, and the 401AC is the aluminum all welded of those two. Now, when you do upsell into the good, this is where I would say 80% of the people need to be. This is what 80% of the industry or the end users should be using. Is there an application for an economy series? Certainly. You know, you're talking, like I said, small mom and pops, small applications where they don't maybe have heavy usage or large volume, but most applications should be utilizing the 401A, which is our standard heavy duty all day, everyday rack. The 401A I refer to as our quarterback. Now let's go through the bullet points again. It still uses an all welded high tensile strength 1-inch extruded tube. So the side panels are a full 1-inch extruded tube with this bent frame, solid rigid design. The difference between the standard heavy duty series and the economy series has nothing to do with craftsmanship or manufacturing. It strictly has to do with material. What we do is we utilize a thinner gauge tube and a thinner gauge angle. What would potentially fail in an economy series is probably the weld. And again, it's not due to craftsmanship. It's strictly due to material. Having a thinner tube and a thinner angle gives you less material to weld together. Utilizing a thicker tube and a thicker angle gives you a little bit more metal to weld together. So that's where you're going to get that solid, more rigid structural weld in that regard. If you compare the 401A to the 401AC, so the all welded economy versus the all welded standard heavy duty series, you're going to see a couple of differences. The main difference, or one of the first differences, I should say, is the casters. You have stem casters versus plate casters. These plate casters are a polyurethane as opposed to a hard plastic polyolefin. So it gives you a little softer ride, a little quieter ride. Not silent, it's just a little bit quieter because it does absorb some of that impact of going over a tile, going over thresholds, going over different things like that as it's rolling. The other difference is you notice that the structure, the way that it's built. The economy series, we refer to this as the crossbar, the crossbars that hold the end panels apart and together. All that's holding these, there is not a crossbar front to back, it's just holding the angle, the sides apart, excuse me. What you'll notice on the standard heavy duty series is we manufacture a complete base frame that has a complete perimeter tubing of 1-inch extruded tube. And then because this is plate casters, we utilize another tube on the interior on both the front and back where we do bolt the casters in place. Again, bolted in place for easy to be removed. About 12 inches up, you'll see another crossbar going horizontally, and then additional crossbars at the top. This just adds the strength and rigidity and helps lock that rack square, helps keep it true. Again, available in end load and side load to accommodate the 18 by 26 and 13 by 18s. Again, guaranteed not to rust. The economy series is as well, and I really should probably add that bullet point here, but being aluminum, it's guaranteed not to rust or corrode due to the properties of aluminum. Now, there are some things in the casters, and the bearings and stuff that do have a potential to rust because they are steel, but the rack itself and the welds won't rust. This, as mentioned, it is a full 5-inch all swivel plate caster that gets mounted to the solid base frame. This is shown with the optional caster brakes, as you see here. I would say probably 5% of our orders we see with caster brakes. Very, very, very few people order brakes. That's why we have it as an option, just because they don't really get used that often, and it's a way for us to keep costs down. Some other options in the standard heavy duty series is different heights and different options there. So this is the 425A. This is a half height rack that will accommodate full size or half size pans. And then anything you see with this slash mark designates an accessory. So the /P will designate that it has this optional poly top as an accessory. If it did not have the accessory, if it was just a 425A, it would have that bent frame design with the rounded top. If somebody were to want to add this in the field, unfortunately, it would not be able to be done because as you see here, we do make a square top and put these corner tabs on it to hold the poly top in place. So this would have to be purchased this way, the 425A/P, or in auto quotes, you'll also find it without the slash 425AP, just for this model because it's a very popular model. And people we saw were tending to order it both ways, so we just made both model numbers the same item to make it easy. Also, reach-in racks, RIR 16. This is a reach-in rack with 16 levels. Two differences that you'll notice, probably one you'll notice by sight, one you'll notice if you get your hands on it. The first one is it has no casters. It's designed to go into a reach-in refrigerator or a reach-in freezer. The other difference is the depth of this rack. Standard bun pan racks are 26 inches deep to accommodate a full 26-inch deep bun pan rack. The reach-in rack is only 23 inches deep because we want to make sure you get that rack completely inside that refrigerator or freezer to avoid any obstructions, maybe a light fixture, maybe a drain tube, maybe some shelf standards, or even the coved floor on the bottom to help you wipe it clean. This allows you to get that completely inside. And so the sheet pans will overhang slightly either on the front or the back or split the difference both, but still very functional for those usage. And it basically increases your capacity of a standard reach-in refrigerator or freezer, where technically you only get 2 shelves. Using the floor you'll get 3. So this gives you more capacity for different things that require the sheet pan application. We also will do stainless steel versions of the standard heavy duty series using a solid 1-inch 400 series tube and a 400 series angles for these as well. And then moving into the best category, this is the extra heavy duty series, the AXD series, what we refer to as the Lifetime Tough series. What's different here is on the Lifetime Tough, this side tube, or the upright as we call it, is a full 1.25 inches versus just the 1 inch. So not only is it dimensionally larger by using a full 1.25 inches, but the gauge is also thicker. The wall thickness of the tube is much thicker than the economy and still thicker than the standard heavy duty series, as well as the angles are thicker also. So when we were talking about welding material together, you even have more metal here to weld together. So it gives you even a stronger weld, stronger bond. Again, end load, side load. This gives you a good picture of 2 half-size pans per level in an end load application. Again, guaranteed not to rust. And then one of the other key features, going back to the welds and the angles and the thickness of the materials, we also have another option where we, or not, excuse me, not an option, it's a standard feature of the extra heavy duty series, is we double weld all the angles to the uprights. So on our normal racks, like the 401AC, the 401AKD, the 401A, and the other two series that we're talking about, we weld the angles on the back side of the angle to the upright. So what I refer to as the outside of the rack. So we're welding those angles out here on the back side to the upright. In the extra heavy duty series, we weld the back side, but we also weld the inside. So the angles are double welded on the back and on the front. That just gives you even a more superior weld and heavier duty strength in that regard. And then we use a full heavy duty 5x2-inch all swivel plate caster for the AXD series as well, which is a formidable caster. You could see these easily on a 6-burner or a three-door freezer or a big piece of equipment in that regard. I would tell you that the AXD series, you're going to be using this in things like casino, stadiums, 24/7 kitchens, healthcare, catering, correctional. And when you utilize correctional in any of the series that we talk about, make sure you add the prison package, which is an option, the /PP, and you'll find that in the auto quotes drop downs. When you talk about different things, as mentioned, the biggest takeaway I will tell you is sell based on application. The good series is really designed for light duty applications. The better is designed for your all day, every day. This is where you should be selling. This is what you should be selling to your customers. The standard heavy duty better series. And then for those unique applications where it's a heavy use, heavy abuse scenarios, large volumes, the best is where you want to be using that, the 24/7 kitchens, caters, correctional, and whatnot. I would tell you probably one of the biggest questions that you're going to get asked is about weight. How much weight will this rack hold? You know, how much weight per level? You know, different scenarios like that. And my answer typically, like I said, is, you know, I don't answer that with a number because weight capacity is irrelevant. Why are they asking you how much weight will that rack hold? They're asking you because they want to make sure it's going to work for their application. So if you know what their application is, you can answer the question, yes, this is designed for that and this is what it's going to use, or no, you shouldn't be using the good series. I need to get you into the better series because that's really designed for your application. So it doesn't matter if it holds 50 pounds per level or if it holds 60 pounds per level or what it's going to hold, because ultimately, if you tell them it will hold 50 pounds per level and they load it on a catering truck and bounce it down the highway, hitting potholes and break a level on this, you're not taking into consideration application. It's holding 50 pounds per level in usage, but based on abuse and you know that other those impacts and other things, that's not 50 pounds. As that truck is bouncing down the highway or even rolling around and you're going in those different scenarios, that weight is acting in a static or in a dynamic application. So when you see these pans just sitting here in a static application, you may have 20, 30, 40, 50 pounds per level, and that's how it acts. It acts as 20, 30, or 40, or 50 pounds per level. When you put it on that catering truck or you add movement, that's when it becomes dynamic weight, and you increase that weight just because of the usage, the vibrations, bouncing over tiles, you know, the grout lines in tile, over thresholds, down freight elevators, onto catering trucks, down pebbled sidewalks on a golf course, you name it, all of that, you know, on and off the brakes in a delivery truck, all of that adds additional weight just because of the force. And that is not weight. That's a dynamic weight, and that's not what is envisioned in their mind. So again, sell based on application, find out what they're using it for, and that will answer their question of how much weight will it hold. All right. And again, I would tell you 80% of the time they need to be in the better category, 5 to 10 in the good category, probably 5, 10, 15 in the best category, depending on, again, application. Any thoughts or questions real quick on bun pan racks before we jump into some shelving solutions and alternatives? No? All right. So let's talk a little bit about our a shelving solution that we have that's going over extremely well for us. It's what, as I mentioned before, Channel's adjustable shelving offers a value-added solution compared to the industry's cheap wire shelving. So let me ask you this: where do we typically install most wire shelving? You're all probably thinking, I'm hoping you're all probably thinking in walk-ins, which you would be right. The majority of what we're doing shelving with is probably going into a walk-in. When you think about that, walk-ins are moist, wet, humid, damp environments. So why are we putting a product in this environment that we know will cause it to rust? Wire shelving is a steel material that's either bare, coated in an epoxy, or coated in a chrome. The chrome will chip or peel or flake. The epoxy will tear. All of those steel surfaces will rust, and we're putting it into an environment that causes rust. Let me give you real brief. So think about that as we go through this. Just the fact that where we're going to be placing it. Our alternative is our adjustable shelving options in an adjustable standpoint. These ship knocked down. On the end of each shelf is a 400 series, or excuse me, a 300 series stainless steel Allen set screw that just screws and tightens right into the upright. Sometimes I get asked by people, is that enough to hold the weight? It's the same design that we use for our keg shelving. So if it's going to hold a half dozen kegs, it's certainly going to hold boxes of whatever else that you're going to put on these. A handful of different sizes, which we'll get into. A couple standard depths. The industry's pretty roughly right around the same, 20 inches or 24-inch depth. Standard height is 72 inches high. And then we have a handful of standard widths. You purchase this per shelf right now. I'm in the process of developing kits to ease that, to either have a 4-shelf kit or a 5-shelf kit. But right now, if you go into auto quotes, you would have to know the model number or go into our book and find the model number. This is a tubular aluminum 20-inch deep by the tubular aluminum 20-inch deep by 48-inch wide that you see here. You would type that model number in to auto quotes, and then if you need this shelving solution, you're going to order a quantity of 5, and then down below you'll add a set of uprights. So again, you gotta have to quote unquote kind of build it. So I'm going to be developing 5-shelf kits and 4-shelf kits that will give you everything in one simple model number. And again, one thing we didn't mention that I kind of missed in the bun pan racks, but I've mentioned earlier, is our ability to do customization. We do a lot of customization. So if you think of customization, or more so our ability to do customization, if you think of that as a product, it's in my top 10. That's how much and how often we customize. It could be something as simple as a little bit deeper, a little bit narrower, maybe a little wider, little narrower width, taller, shorter. Those simple tweaks to dimensional pieces we do all day, every day. That's super simple. Maybe somebody needs something I refer to as a Frankenstein, and they're going to give you a napkin sketch, or they kind of have an idea of a product for their application. We do a lot of those as well. And we do a lot of equipment stands, for example. So maybe you sell a combi and it needs a base or an equipment stand. The manufacturer of that combi will sell you one, but they're usually very expensive. We can manufacture you an equipment stand for those combis, griddles, what you name it, at a fraction of the cost. All aluminum, solid top, aluminum top, stainless top, shelf below, bun pan racks below, on casters, on legs, you name it, designed to fit that application. So just give us a spec sheet or a drawing, or spec sheet of the item that's going on top, or even better, the spec sheet of the stand that we're trying to replace, and we can get you something there. So I did a comparison against Metro, and I said, okay, let me look at Metro's wire shelving and see where we stack up with them. And I just kind of did a little cross chart. So they their depth, and they have a 4 and a 5 shelf setup. And if you do a 4 shelf, you can get them in, or a 5 shelf, you can get them in either 18 or 24. Ours are 20 or 24. If you're talking about a 4 shelf, their height of their uprights are 63 inches. If a 5 shelf, it's 74 inches. Ours is a standard 72. We can go up to 12 feet. So if you want a 63 or 74 or a 93, we see a lot of 93-inch requests, and get additional, maybe 6 or 7 shelves. You can certainly do that as well. But out of the gate, standard will be a 72.
John, we have a question.
Yeah, you bet.
We want to know, do you have a solid shelf for the bottom of the shelving unit?
Yeah, we have actually 4 different shelf styles. So I have a solid surface that you can get for all, one location or all locations. So you can go into auto quotes, and if you want a 5 shelf setup, and with the bottom one being solid, order 4 of the, in this case, order 4 tubular, and then you would just have to add 1 solid for the bottom in that same style, and you can absolutely mix and match any of the 4 styles that we have. So it's a solid, the tubular, E-channel, and T-bar. I don't have images here in this setup, but we absolutely have solid available for you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Yep, you bet. So again, the channel aluminum adjustable shelf offers you a heavy duty alternative. Wire shelving's not heavy duty, doesn't carry much weight. I was in one just the other 2 weeks ago, and it was in a hotel lobby in their little coffee shop, and they had some teas and a bunch of cases of coffee sitting on this 48. It was actually a 60-inch shelf, and it was already bowing. So I mean, it really doesn't carry much weight. The aluminum, extruded aluminum shelving will carry quite a bit of weight based on the application. Ours is aluminum construction. They use a coated steel material. Ours is guaranteed not to rust. Theirs being epoxy or chrome will crack, will peel. Theirs is also very difficult to clean, regardless of where it is. Ours obviously can be wiped down quite easily between the different styles that we just mentioned. They utilize obviously that plastic part, that plastic collar that snaps around the upright, and then the shelf slides over the top of it, which I hear breaks, or if you're moving it around, can crack under the cold temperatures as well. As mentioned, we utilize a 300 series stainless steel set screw on the outside collar of the shelf. We offer various shelf styles, as just mentioned again. From a price standpoint, I would say we're both price competitive. I did a price comparison against these, and let me get to that. Let me just finish this off real quick. So again, value added solution and a lot of different custom options. So I did a cost comparison also when I was comparing this against the Metro, and I took a tubular style, 24-inch deep shelf by 48 inches wide, and I just looked at list prices because I don't know Metro's discount structure. Just looked at a 5 shelf setup versus our 5 shelf setup in aluminum, and we were $33 list price less than Metro. When I looked at the 5 shelf setup in their 60-inch by 24-inch deep, we were $65 less list price. Be honest with you guys, I thought my Excel spreadsheet had some formula errors in it, so I looked at it again. So this is what I'm saying, it's a value added solution. I thought we'd be much higher. I thought the aluminum in our construction and design would kind of put us out of that. We were less expensive list price than a Metro. So it's a much better value added solution in all these different reasons to get your customer into something, bring your value to them rather than just taking an order. Give them something that they are going to use much better. So let's talk a little bit about some wheres and whys. Walk-in coolers is where we probably are going to see these predominantly, but you're going to see them in prep areas, storage areas, industrial applications, janitorial applications, great for storing chemicals and mops and buckets and whatnot, paper products on those. Residential use. You see a lot of these people buying these for their garages, their basements, their storage units as well. Great application there also. Whys, better organization and appearance, durability, functionality, heavy duty design, guaranteed not to rust, easy to clean, custom sizes available. much better value for your customer than a cheap wire shelf. Again, people buy the cheap wire shelves strictly because they're cheap. Well, ours are less expensive than those because ours aren't cheap. It's a very high quality material and a heavy duty application. Any more questions or thoughts on the adjustable shelving before we move on to the last category of new items? All right. So let's talk about some product improvements first. So anything that we had that has this square top design, we're moving to this bent frame design. As mentioned, it gives you a much more durable, rigid build, and you eliminate a lot of the potential weak spots where you're cutting and welding the product. And again, as mentioned, it's going to be an area where it can twist or warp on you. Some new products that we've introduced since last NAFM is a U-shaped nesting rack. So while we still have our standard Z racks, the Z-shaped nesting rack, this one's a U-shaped rack. I think it's going to be a lot heavier duty than the Z rack. The Z rack uses a 1-inch aluminum extruded tube, where this uses an 1.5 by 2-inch tube for the U, and the top, the middle, and the bottom. So you get a much heavier duty tube that's going to help keep that structure in place. And again, the way that you can see it nest, it's going to nest right on top of each other, zigzag back and forth. I did a little comparison here also, where I took 6 standard bun pan racks, rather, like a 401A, for example, and compared them to 6 staged U-shaped racks. The U-shaped racks save you almost 40% storage space. So if you go into a caterer or a casino or a hotel or stadium where they have hundreds of these racks being used and they're not in use, and the downtime, they take up a lot of space. So by nesting them, you can save them almost 40% space and give them a heavier duty product as well than the standard Z-rack. Again, Z-racks are very functional, very useful, but if you're looking for a slightly heavier duty, different design, different approach, the U-shaped rack is an interesting way to go as well. An all-welded security cage. This will do more than keep honest people out. Some of you may have heard me say that before. Everything is all welded. You get it as you see it. You do not have to put it together. It's already assembled, already all welded. Like any product that we ship that has casters, it ships on a pallet inverted so the wheels are up so they don't fall through the cast, or they don't fall through the pallet and get destroyed by a fork truck per se. This, you just take off the pallet, invert it, and it's literally, pun intended, ready to roll. All the shelves are welded in place, roughly 20 inches apart. But if you need them to be different dimensions, different spacings, we can certainly do that. Hinges are all welded. Casters are adjustable, so the casters are, removable, so you can change the casters out on this rack as well. The right door has a spring pin at the top and at the bottom that holds the right door closed, and then the left door has the lockable hasp on the door also. But we do a lot of customization. So say somebody wants a single door. Maybe they don't want it 27 wide by 49 long. Maybe they want it 24 by 48 or different sizes also. We can certainly do that as well. Maybe they want an additional shelf. Maybe they want less shelves, or as mentioned, maybe they want different spacing. We can do all of that in this application also. Double deep keg racks. We were getting this asked a lot during COVID just for increased capacity. Obviously, they say that when times get tough, liquor sales go up. We were actually seeing that during COVID. Our keg offering was really had a high volume to it, and we were seeing more capacity needs. So we added this as a standard option instead of as a special request. So it's 34 inches deep as opposed to the standard 17 inches deep. So it'll hold 2 kegs front to back. It'll hold various microbrews as well in that regard. I'm seeing people utilize these in different ways though. So sometimes you may see somebody eliminate the bottom shelf, use this crossbar. And again, this is an option. This is what we refer to as a keg stop. They're sold individually. So if you wanted one on the bottom, you'd have to order quantity 2. But what we're seeing is people removing the bottom shelf, utilizing a keg stop on the bottom to keep the legs in place. And then they're putting their kegs on a keg dolly and wheeling them into the bottom empty bay and using the middle shelf for empty storage. Top is a tubular shelf designed for cases, dry goods, that type of thing. Next is an all-welded wine storage shelf. This is completely customizable. This is really based on capacity. When people are storing wine, it's all about capacity. So this is our wine storage shelf, the WSS 1152. That's just a placeholder. So again, it's, as I mentioned, it's completely customizable. Wine storage shelf, WSS. The 11 refers to the number of levels. 11. This one shows 11 levels. The 5 is regarding the number of bottles wide per shelf, and the 2 is the number of bottles deep per shelf, and you can see that right here in this chart. All right. So if somebody wanted, like for example, we built this big one for a gentleman who was lining the walls of his glass. He had 2 glass walls in his dining area, and he was utilizing this setup. This is could be a WSS 2462, 24 levels, 6 bottles wide per level, 2 bottles deep per level. I've made them as big as 11 bottles wide per level and 18. I would tell you the standard that I'm seeing going in, wine storage rooms or walk-ins or whatnot is roughly about 18 or 19 levels tall, 6 bottles wide, 2 bottles deep. That's what I'm typically seeing. What's not shown in this picture is something I've added since I had this picture taken, is I'm now putting them on 8-inch legs. Each of these coming on 8-inch legs. And the reason being is had an application where it was brought to our attention that if you don't offload all your cases, your bottles out of the cases into the racks, you want to be able to store those cases down below underneath. So that's what we see. That's why we put them on these 8-inch legs, so you can store your cases underneath the rack. And the last kind of new item that's in our catalog is a wall-mounted dish rack holder. I would tell you that at NAF, when I showed this was what I refer to as best of show. Really shocked me. I thought maybe the all-welded security cage or maybe even the wine storage shelf would have taken first place, so to speak. But this, people were raving about this. If you think about where dish racks usually end up, or glass racks usually end up on the floor, in the corner, below a work table, stacked up, all dirty and messy, or whatnot. Or you're always trying to find space. So everything's usually on casters, on legs. Where's an open spot on the floor I can wheel this thing? Think outside the box. Get it off the floor. Think about wall space. It's wide open. So think about above a 3-compartment sink. Maybe you can mount one of these above a 3-compartment sink, and now you have empty storage or space that's not being utilized, where you can put soiled dish racks. You could put clean dish racks. After you wash them, they can go up there to dry and drip into the 3-compartment. You can put them in a warewashing area. You can put them in a storage area to get better organization, better appearance and cleanliness for those. You have a top mounting bar with this top strap, and then you have the mounting strap down below. Mounting hardware is not included. So once this is on site and somebody knows where it's going to get installed and located and where the studs are located, then they can drill accordingly and then utilize the appropriate mounting hardware, depending if it's going into masonry, stud walls, or whatnot. Last item we'll talk about is a new item that is kind of a concept right now. If you've ever ordered groceries online, this is what they utilize in the grocery store. So somebody's in the store picking your groceries for you based on what you ordered online. They utilize these various totes that get slid in here. The grocery bags go in these totes, and as they go down and pick your groceries, this is what they're putting them in here. So a person's walking around the store, pushing this cart, picking the groceries. And they might have several different, depending on the size of the order, they could have 2 or 3 different orders based on customers in this. This is, like I said, a concept. This one's 24 wide, 48 longs, based on this totes. Had a customer that was going to a supermarket trade show, and so we made this for them to bring and we're still waiting on that feedback to come back. I had a conversation initially, and they said that it went over very well. And obviously now it's kind of they're marketing it to their various people. I think the biggest thing that gets undersold and overlooked with Channel is the fact that we are an American-made company. We manufacture in New York, and we have a secondary facility in Florida, just north of Miami and out up in New York on Long Island. I'm in the process of looking to try to add a third facility out west. This was designed to try to go in during COVID, but obviously COVID stymied that a little bit on us. Lastly, what I will leave you with is, or two things really. So for those of you from a rep standpoint, you can either contact me or not, but Florida, we utilize Unisource. In the Carolinas, it's Carolina Food Service Solutions. Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, Nebraska, and Southern Illinois, it's Midwest Professional Reps. And then in Georgia, Alabama, Eastern Tennessee, and the Panhandle of Florida is Lindox Siegel. They do a very good job for us. If any of you all are CFSPs, by going through this course, you can earn 1 credit for your regular continuing education credits. All you need to do is send me an email, john@channelmfg.com, and I will send you the certificate of completion for this course that you can submit to CFSP to NAFM to earn that credit in that regard. If there aren't any other questions or thoughts, that is it for myself.
We do have one question, John.
Sure.
So the new item, will it be added to auto quotes, or is it in there already, or?
So those items have not been entered into auto quotes yet. That's in process. It's been both of our faults. I've been in the process of an ERP update, which any of you have done is very painful and exhausting. So we just got that done. Auto quotes has been doing some things where they weren't allowing me to get stuff in it as well. So I'm hoping in the next couple weeks here that we're going to be able to get those items in there. If you need any of those though, and you need pricing, just again, contact myself or the office, and we can get you pricing and information on it.